Okay, so my name is Heather. Yes, I'm at my job, but it's my lunch break. And I thought this would be a really good opportunity, maybe, that I could have undistracted and talk about my weight loss surgery. So, in November of 2018, I weighed my heaviest of 300 pounds, and that's when I decided to have bariatric surgery. Now, I originally set my mind to the sleeve because first off, even though I'm 5'5" and I was 300 pounds, and that's a lot of weight, a lot of people said I didn't look 300 pounds, and so I was worried that I would lose too much weight and look too skinny, and then, you know, maybe my husband wouldn't be attracted to me anymore. So I had my mind set to do the sleeve. My insurance would not pay for it because it's the easy, lazy way out. That was their answer. And that's okay, because actually what I did was actually cheaper and way better than anything I would have gotten from the United States. I went to Tijuana, Mexico. Now, originally I was going to go with a lighter me, and there were no red flags or anything like that. There wasn't really anything negative I could find about them. And so for, like, when I started doing my research, they were the first ones that came up. I felt really good about it. Now, I'm going to be honest. When I first was like, okay, insurance isn't going to pay for it. How am I going to pay for $100,000 surgery? Because that's not uncommon for the surgeries to get up to $100,000. And my insurance isn't paying it. I don't make $100,000 in a year. There's no way I could pay that. So when a friend of mine, actually not a friend, my very best friend, was like, hey, I know girls who have gone to Mexico. And I'm like, I'm not going to Mexico. But I did some research, and because after a while I was like, why would I not go? Like, why not? I mean, if it's safe, it's safe. So I talked to some of her friends who had gone, and they just raved about how clean the hospitals were and how great the service was, and it was so much less stressful than trying to go through insurance. So I started doing my own research and looked at the doctors that they had suggested, and for whatever reason, I just didn't click with those doctors or that tourism company, whatever. Nothing against them at all. It just wasn't, it didn't feel right to me, but I felt good at the idea of going to Mexico or to another country. Like, that part felt right. So I just knew I hadn't found the right doctor. So I looked and looked and looked, and I found, I think it was called a lighter me. And I felt really good about it, and I was excited, but I was still looking. Like, even though I was like, okay, I'm going to put the deposit down, like, with the lighter me, I'd already filled out all the paperwork. They were just waiting on my deposit. And I was just like, okay, one last check on I left my stomach in Mexico. And like I said, I talked to a couple of different companies, medical tourism companies that specialized in bariatric surgery, and I really liked the lighter me. They were like above the rest in just the way I felt. But so I was like, okay, like the weekend before I was planning on doing my deposit, I posted on the I Left My Stomach in Mexico Facebook page, just looking for any negative comments I could find. Like, that's what I was searching for. I found all the good reviews I wanted to read, but I wanted negative experiences. And that's when I'm looking at anything, reviews on anything, I look at the positive, but I also I want to hear some of the negatives. I want to hear either it was a negative experience because you're an idiot, or this is a legit issue that's not being fixed, or they did have an issue but they fixed it. And then to me, that still counts positive towards them if they've had something wrong and they fixed it. And somebody, actually a couple of girls, and I'm still connected with them, still friends with them. Sorry, I keep getting messages. And they suggested Go Light and Dr.Z. And so I researched him real quick. And when I say real quick, like hours and hours and hours of scouring the internet trying to find negative things about him. And I could not find anything, nothing negative, nothing. And so I was just like, gosh, this is good. So I did an appointment with him where like he calls you on Facebook Messenger and you talk. And he was like, I reviewed your medical records that you sent, like the little form you fill out. And he said, I won't do the sleeve on you. And a couple of others had told me they wouldn't do the sleeve on me. And I was really afraid because I didn't want gastric bypass. I was like, not going to do gastric bypass. And he was like, I'm not going to do it. It's going to be a waste of your money. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, because you'll be back in here within 6 months wanting me to do the bypass on you because of your acid reflux. Like, if your acid reflux is already this bad, I'm not doing the sleeve on you. It's a waste of my time and your money because you need the bypass. And so I was like, while I'm on the phone with him, I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. And I'll send the deposit. And then I get off the phone and I'm like, I don't want to do the bypass. Like, no, that's too scary. That's too permanent. I don't know. Like, why was I terrified of it? And it's so funny because, I mean, other people had said, don't do the sleeve, do the bypass because I would literally vomit because of my acid reflux being so bad. Like, it would be in my mouth and stuff. Almost daily. So, of course, I was not a good candidate for the sleeve. But then they have, like, you know, Facebook has the Sassy Sleeve Facebook group. And then you have Sleeve Sisters. And it just sounded way more fun than, you know, RNY. Gastric bypass. So, anyway, I thought about it. And I did pray about it. And for whatever reason, I had the most calming. I kept going back to our conversation and I was like, why did I not like argue with him? Why did I not speak up? And it was because I had so much confidence in him. I was second guessing myself and just worried about stupid stuff. I don't know, like really stupid stuff, like because Sassy Sleevers and Sleeve Sisters is so much cooler than RNY. Like, that's really what it came down to, y'all. And so I was just like, it was funny because when I was on the call with him, I was absolutely calm and I had every ounce of respect for him and trust in him. And I was like, if I have that much trust in him over a phone call, and I just kind of keep going back to him, and I kind of was like, you know, going back and forth between a Lighter Me and Go Light Bariatric. And so I finally did it. Like 2 days later, I pulled the trigger. I paid the deposit to Go Light with Dr. Z. And that was the best thing I ever did. So I sent that to them. And they had already sent me like the pre-op diet stuff. And I'd already been trying it. And I'd been trying, like I had already started doing, as soon as I decided I was going to have bariatric surgery, I started making lifelong changes. I had my aha moment, that moment of I'm done being fat, I'm done being overweight, I'm done dieting. And so it was easy. Like, I gave up sodas. I have not had a single soda since November 13th, and I don't miss it. I didn't give up other things as quickly. I would have prepared goodbyes. So I started doing the salads and things like that. And I made a lot of mistakes on my pre-op diet, but I started it as soon as I decided to have it. And it was different because it wasn't a diet. I knew this was going to be the rest of my life. I was done dieting. I was ready for permanent change. Whether I lost the weight or not, my aha moment, my scared straight moment, I thought I had diabetes. It came back negative. It came, like, my A1Cs were on point like they always are. I came back with a vitamin deficiency. That was my aha moment to have gastric bypass surgery. And if y'all don't know, gastric bypass causes malnutrition, vitamin deficiencies. And so I already had it before I had surgery. So, sorry, my allergies are bad today. Okay, so November 6th, I decided to have surgery. November 13th, I picked Dr. Z. I knew he was the doctor for me. Not that anything was wrong with those other doctors, just Dr. Z was the one for me. He was my surgeon. I liked the pre-op diet. I liked the post-op diet. I liked how they gave me everything. I liked how easy they were to get a hold of, and then just the calming spiritual side of it. That was a big part of my decision for Dr. Z. He is a good Christian man, and he keeps the Lord in his operating room and in his everyday life. And he's an animal lover. And I'm a huge animal lover. So it was just like, okay, it really clicked. He was the one for me. And so if you want to do it just based on gut feeling, that's why I did it. Spiritually, the Lord guided me, or just by mind, everything I saw, I couldn't find any flaws in Dr. Z or Go Light or Florence Hospital, which is an actual hospital. It wasn't one of those clinics. That was the only thing I didn't like about A Light or Me, was it wasn't really, it was called a hospital, but it's not. It's like a clinic. No, Florence Hospital has ER and other surgeons and things like that. Like, he rents rooms and space at Florence Hospital. So that's fantastic. My BMI was 40, which meant I think I was going to have to, like, if I couldn't lose a few pounds by the time we set the date, I was going to have to pay an extra fee or something. I think I was like right at that if I don't lose a couple of pounds, I'm going to have to pay an extra fee. But it wasn't like a lot that I had to lose. And so he was like, yeah, you should lose like 8 pounds before you get here. Okay, so that was November 13th. I scheduled for January 21st. And I think I was the only patient that day, which was good. But there were other patients there. So Florence Hospital, Dr. Z practices out of, and there was 2 or 3 other bariatric surgeons. So even if you're like on Dr. Z's Facebook page, support group, whatever, and you aren't finding anyone else having surgery on that day, don't worry, you're going to meet other people, because there's other surgeons, and then you have people who were there before you and who are coming in after you. So you're going to meet some amazing people to help you, support you through your journey. I love my group. The people I met, like, I feel like there's 3 of us that like really clicked, and I probably in touch weekly still, and this has been almost 9 months. And so it's been great. I loved it. Anyway, sorry, back to November 13th. That's when I set my date for January 21st. I bought plane tickets for myself and my mom, because let's face it, I was still going to a foreign country. I do not speak a lick of Spanish. I can barely speak English. And if something were to happen, I needed that mama bear mentality to get me over the border to a U.S. hospital to save my life, whatever. Like, I had heard horror stories, not with Dr. Z, not with Go Light, not with Florence Hospital, but other, the cheaper back alley places. That's kind of where I heard those stories at. So it's still kind of in the back of your mind, like, if something goes wrong, I want my mama there, because she's gonna mama bear it. So my husband was a little upset that he didn't get to go with me. But I knew my mom would be more mama bear, whereas my husband would be lost as to what to do. I love you, honey, and I know you would do everything to protect me, but mamas do things scary and get stuff done. And so, but honestly, if you're looking at going by yourself and you're going with the Go Light and Dr. Z, you're safe. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have a problem going by myself. And I met people who were there by themselves, and they did fantastic. If you want to take someone with you, that's great too. It works well. With someone being there, they get to stay with you the whole time. So November 13th, I booked my ticket for my mom and myself, and I started the pre-op diet. Now, I didn't have to start it that day. I still had some wiggle room for the liver shrinking diet. I had like a couple of weeks that I didn't have to do it, but I was determined I'm going to make this work, and I'm still determined I'm going to make this tool work for me. So if this is a lifestyle change, I need to go ahead and start practicing now, because that's going to give me chances to mess up. So we're talking November 13th, y'all. So I have Thanksgiving and Christmas to get through. And now I'm from a good Southern family. Thanksgiving, my mom does something. We normally go to one of my sister-in-law's families for some food. For Christmas, my mom will do something. Not on Christmas. We do something like on a weekend. And then again, I'll go to one of my sister-in-law's family function to do something, and then my husband's family. So I have at least 2 Thanksgivings and at least 3 Christmases. On the small side, like there's times I have more Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then, you know, like I had Christmas party for my work to do, and yeah, and then on top of it, we had just gone through, like, I'm in Southwest Georgia. Hurricane Michael had just hit us. I wasn't even living in my home. I was living on the sofa at my mom's house because we didn't have power still at my house. Or was it water? Hurricane Michael screwed stuff up, and I live out in the boonies, and so I don't think I had water. I think my power pole to my water was still broken. So my life was crazy when I was like, I'm done. I'm going to lose the weight. I'm going to change my life, and I'm going to be happier and healthier for it. So I started following Dr. Z's diet. Now, I have done so many diets. I've done the doctor approved monitored diets. I've worked with nutritionists. I've worked with physical trainers. I've done shots. I've done pills. I've done the meal kits where they send you like the freeze-dried cardboard. I did Weight Watchers. Didn't work for me. I was a lifeguard, and when I started lifeguarding, I was 240 pounds. Within 3 months, I weighed 260 pounds, and there was a nutritionist there who had absolute control over what I ate, because I was at a summer camp, and I couldn't just leave and go grab food. So I was only allowed to eat what they served me. And this diet was different, and I learned a lot. I learned that just because it's a vegetable or a fruit doesn't mean it's healthy. And just, you know, how to read nutritional labels. With a lot of them, they only have you look at like 1 or 2 things. Weight Watchers, you just look at the points. You're not looking at the complete picture. Calorie counting, you're just looking at your calories. You're not looking at the nutritional factor. Dr. Z was the first person to give me charts and macros of more than just 1 or 2 things that I needed to look at. I needed to look at my calories. I needed to look at my protein, my carbs, my fat. He had me watch videos that talked about why normal dieting doesn't work, how bariatric surgery works, things like that. I learned so much from the stuff Dr. Z's team sent me, and the nutritionist that works for Dr. Z sent me. I learned so much, and then, you know, just kind of kept researching it, because I was like, if this is a lifestyle change, I need to know as much as possible. So I was like just trying to educate myself as much as possible, and, you know, learning it's not just about picking the salads. It's about picking apart the nutrition label and what kind of happens to your food before it gets to you. It is a huge thing. For example, we're all told that like turkey and chicken are healthy for you, right? And it is. Except for when it's not. Except for when they process it and they add more chemicals to it, or they change the makeup of it. And that happens. And so with the education that Dr. Z sent me, it put me on the right path to find things. So from November 13th to January 21st, I lost 40 pounds. Now this weight loss was not different than my other diets, because if I took a picture on the day I started and on the day of surgery, and you could not tell. I had lost 40 pounds. That's a 40. 40 pounds in 2 months, and you couldn't tell. And that was the problem with all my other diets, is I would lose weight and you would never tell. And then I'd gain it back while still doing the diet. So I'm sure, because a lot of you were like, well, if you lost 40 pounds in 2 months, why'd you need the surgery? Because my body does not respond to weight loss properly. So I needed the surgery to to traumatize my body, to actually get it to shed the weight. Not just the pounds, but to actually move the fat, to get rid of the fat. I don't know how. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't have 60 pounds of water weight, 10 pounds maybe. 60? No, that's not all water weight. But why I'm still the same size, I couldn't tell you. Other than I have hormonal issues, and that messes up how your body loses weight, how it responds to weight loss. One of the videos talked about a match set point, and it pretty much, your body's internal goes, okay, this is how many calories I need to function daily, and anything over that will be turned into fat for storage later if I don't get those amount of calories. But it could be off. That part of your body that says, okay, this is the amount of calories I need, could be off. And if it's off and you're getting more calories than what you actually need for your body to function, then it's turning to fat sooner. Another thing is your hormone glands in your stomach could be producing too many hormones, constantly making you hungry, which was one of my issues. Like, if I had that gland that was overactive. So learned a lot, got really good about the diet. A few things I learned was food journaling is a must. And it's not just journaling what you ate, and calorie counting and carb counting and protein counting and fat counting, and making sure you're not getting too much sodium or too much of this. It's also about journaling your bathroom habits, how your skin looks, how you feel, and your moods. So the Berry-tastic app that he suggests is a really good app, because it's got a place in there that you can go, I pooped 3 times today. And on a scale of 1 to 5, I was a 7 on the happy scale. Okay. There's that. But then there's also a place for you to put notes. So when I went to my farewell dinner at Olive Garden, I was able to go back and go, before surgery, this is how Olive Garden made me feel. It made me feel, I was tired. I got cranky after I ate there. I didn't want to go do anything else. I just wanted to go take a nap. And it actually made my stomach hurt. And so I did that with a couple, Chick-fil-A, even though it's the Lord's chicken, it makes me sick, even before surgery. So I had that, and that was a huge eye-opener. Like, when I got my protein in, like Dr. Z told me to, I wasn't hungry. The liquid diet, y'all, was nothing. Nothing. Actually, there were plenty of times before I was required to go on a liquid diet, that little measly 3-day liquid diet. There were plenty of times that the only thing I would get was protein in. Because I found a protein powder I liked. I put it in my water. I put some Crystal Light in there. I was good to go. I'd do 2 of those a day. I was getting 60 to 90 grams of protein. Sometimes I'd do 3 protein shakes a day if I wasn't hungry. And getting that protein in made me not hungry. Also having the mindset that I'm going to make a difference, like I'm changing my life. And this is step 1. So I found it easier when I made good food choices. I wanted to go out and go walking. So I had a Fitbit, and I started challenging myself. Every time it would go off, you know how if you don't get 240 steps 10 minutes before the next hour, it'll vibrate and go, hey, you need 171 steps to get your steps in. I would go walk around my office. I would run in place for a few minutes. That's how I started exercising, is at work. I would stand up and for 3 minutes run in place. Or I'd run around the building or walk briskly. I started briskly walking around the building, or just, finding a reason to get up and walk. And I still do that. I still like to get up and just walk. I can now run around my building 5 times. It's not a huge building, but I can do it, like no breathing problems. The more I worked out, the easier it was to say no to bad foods, because it wasn't, oh, I worked out, so now I have room to eat junk food. It was, I worked out, I've already done that. I'm not going to ruin my workout with bad food. I'm going to make the most of my workout by continuing to pick healthy foods. So it's a mindset. It is. It's not a natural mindset, but it's, once you start practicing those mindsets, it gets easier and easier. So when you work out, go, I'm not going to ruin my workout by eating junk food. I'm going to enhance my workout by eating healthy food. I'm going to, I'm not going to buy the junk food. When you're in the store, just walk by it. You can push that off long enough while you're in the store, and then when you walk out of the store, you're triumphant because you didn't get the gummy worms or whatever your weak food is. You didn't get the cookies and the crackers and the juice and the soda, and it's a triumph. Yes, when you walk in the store, it's, okay, I can do this. I can be strong. I can walk past this. And then as you've checked out and you're walking out with your fresh fruit and vegetables and meat and nothing naughty in your bags, you are a winner. You are triumphant. You are in control and you are strong. And it's an amazing feeling. And you won that day. It is a fight. It is a war. And every battle has to be won. And every battle won needs to be celebrated. And it doesn't need to be celebrated with food. It can be celebrated in other ways. Just going mental, yes. Okay. That's how you change your mind. The celebrations in the battles that will also lead to the win on the war. So I was doing fantastic. I got through Thanksgiving. My mom was, bless her, she made cauliflower, mashed cauliflower and things like that. My brother was doing keto, and he does keto still at the same time. So she made us some keto friendly dishes, and so that worked for me. It was a little on the fat side, but it was okay. I mean, it wasn't carbs. Carbs were he was training me to stay away from carbs is the big one. You don't want fat to necessarily be your number one thing either, but you got to learn carbs are the bad and why carbs are bad. Carbs are pretty much a drug. We've all heard sugar is a drug. The definition of a drug is it changing your chemical brain, the chemicals in your brain and how your brain functions. Sugar changes your chemicals in your brain chemistry. That's the word I'm looking for. And then you need more of it to get that high. Carbs pretty much turn into sugar in your system, so you need that high. And when you have a high, you have a low. Now, carbs, there's good carbs, and there's times you need carbs, but you want to have control over it. So at first you want to get rid of all the carbs. You want to detox from the carbs, and then get a healthy habit on being in control of your body and your cravings. And then there are certain carbs you'll be allowed to bring back into your diet. But for the pre-op, you don't need it. You don't. There are enough carbs in your fruit and vegetables that you don't really need. You don't need the bread. You don't need the pasta. You don't need the rice. Is the first 2 weeks hard because you're literally detoxing from something? Yes, you get very cranky. What was it? I saw a meme. Gave up carbs for 12 hours. The cashier told me to have a nice day, and I told that hoe she could worry about herself. Something along those lines. Yeah, the first 2 weeks is rough. But you get over it, and it's not that hard saying goodbye. After that, you're good. Just don't let them sneak back into your life. So when you're on the pre-op diet, follow it. Put everything in your app. Make sure you're following every little thing. that you eat. You put it in your app so you can really see, even when you're cheating, even when you cheat and you have a naughty day or you have a farewell meal, put it in there so you can see it. So you can see what it does to your micros, so you can see what it does to your body function, to your gut health, to your digestive, to your skin health, to your hair, to your moods, to everything. Because everything we put in our body affects our whole body. Not just our tummy, but our whole body. Okay, so I get to Christmas. I do, again, you know, bless my mama, I love her. She's so supportive. Make sure that I have access and my brother has access to healthy foods. Actually, for Christmas, we did a low country boil. That's what we do for Christmas. Yummy. So shrimp. I did splurge a little that day, and I had one little red potato. But I had shrimp, and I had like 2 carrots, like the little baby carrots, and some shrimp. I didn't eat the corn. Yeah. So anyway, that's what my family does. We do a low country boil for Christmas, because when you have 4 or 5 Thanksgivings and 4 or 5 Christmases, you kind of get tired of that dinner. So then I get to my husband's family, who is not dieting. I did bring a few things I could eat. I checked with them first. I said, hey, I'm on a special diet because I'm getting ready for surgery. I'm going to bring this and this. I hope you don't mind. It is going to be geared towards me, but if anybody wants some, they're going to be more than welcome to. So, I got some dark berries, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, and some sugar-free Cool Whip, and put some of my protein powder in it and mixed it up, and that was like a dessert for me. I did try some of the naughty foods, literally try like a bite, because it is Christmas. You want to celebrate. You don't want to be totally, but I didn't go crazy. I tried like the homemade mac and cheese, because I mean, that woman, my sister-in-law, she makes some good mac and cheese. So I tried like a bite of that, and then I stuck to the meats and the green beans and the things that I brought. And then she also, y'all, this was the naughtiest thing I did. She made homemade peanut butter cups, like Reese's cups. She made them at home. And so I had one or two of those, but it was over like, it wasn't I sat down and I ate it. I was like, no, if I'm gonna splurge, I'm going to enjoy it. So I sat down and I would take a bite, and then I would socialize, and I'd come back and I'd take another bite. And it would take me like an hour to eat one. So I think I had 2. I didn't feel guilty. I was 3 weeks away from surgery at this point. And I didn't feel guilty. Like, yes, I was on the liver shrinking diet, but I did such a good job, and it was a special occasion. And occasionally, when you're in control, it is okay to have not approved foods. But if you're in the beginning, or you can't handle just one, or taking a bite and walking away and then coming back 45 minutes later and taking another bite and putting it down and walking it away so you truly enjoy it, then don't do it. But when you have that, when you learn self-control and you're the master of yourself, occasional splurges are okay. Occasionally, like once a month, not every day. So, okay. So finally, so I get through that. New Year's is nothing. I'm so excited. I'm like counting down. I'm on Dr. Z's page every day, and I'm like trying to see if there's any people who are going to get the surgery with me. I've come to terms with the fact I'm getting gastric bypass, and that I'm going to lose my hair, and my skin's going to be bad, and I'm going to suffer from malnutrition the rest of my life. I've embraced it all. And then it comes time. So I live in a small town that the nearest airport, small, teeny tiny airport, is an hour away, and a big airport is 4 hours away. And so we're going to a big airport because the small airport is like $100 extra just to use the airport. It's crazy. So I would spend $300 or $400 extra to fly out of my nearby airport. So it's literally cheaper for me to drive 4 hours, pay to park my car for this whole week, and pay for a hotel room, and then do it all the way again when I'm coming back, than to fly from a local airport. So that's what we did. My mom and I, we left Saturday morning, went to Jacksonville, went to the beach, got some pictures of us on the beach. We went out to eat. And again, at this point, I'm on my liquid diet. And so we went somewhere. Actually, we went to BJ's, which we'd never been to, brew house or something. And they had a soup I could eat. So I ate that. And then my mom had some, like, a salad form of my soup. It was very good looking. And then we went to the hotel. Next morning, we got up super, super early, went to the airport, and flew to San Diego. And, oh, that was such an exciting flight. And, you know, that liquid diet was nothing, because I was so excited, because by the time I was on my liquid diet, I started Friday, so I'm packing Friday. I worked all day Friday, and then I go home and I packed. So I was, like, so excited for it, and the liquid diet was nothing. I had a really good control over everything and a great mindset. So we get to San Diego, and I text my driver, and she's like, okay, well, meet me here. And so I, like, get my luggage, and we meet her there. And we came through, like, at a good time, because there was no traffic going down to Tijuana at the border. There was, like, none. So all the border patrol, the Mexican border patrol guys were kind of, like, sitting in a circle talking, and so they didn't stop us, and she wasn't slowing down. And I think that's because, I don't know, she didn't say this, but I think I've heard where sometimes if when you're going down to Mexico, if they see something they like, they'll take it, they'll confiscate it because it's illegal or whatever. And so she was like, woohoo, we got through this. And so we get to the Marriott, and it's a really nice Marriott. Like, they have bellhops, like, come and open the door for you and, like, get your luggage out. And then they, like, have another bellhop who, like, opens the door for you and ushers you to the front desk and introduces you to the front desk staff. I mean, it was crazy. And then our Go Light coordinator, Ada, met us there. She went up to the room with us. And I have to say, y'all, I really liked the Marriott. So I would say 95% of the employees speak English quite well. You can easily communicate with most of the employees at the Marriott that Go Light uses. And they have some security features I had never seen. Like, your room key, you have to have it to use the elevator. Because the elevator, if you don't have a room key, only goes to public floors. So, like, all the floors with rooms, you have to have an active room key to get up. I really like that security feature. So we get to our room, and she has, like, a nice little welcome bag for us that has information in it, and the little stomach, and a Premier Protein shake and some water. And she explains to us, so this was Sunday. My surgery was Monday on Martin Luther King Day. And she explains to us at, I think it was like 8:30, you're going to go downstairs. You're going to let one of the staff members know that you are going to Florence Hospital with Go Light, that you're with Go Light, and they're going to bring you to the hospital. And Maria will meet you in the lobby of the hospital. And so we were like, okay. And so then she's like, okay, the hotel will give you soup or broth and popsicles or Jello since you're on your liquid diet, but my companion would have to pay, which was fine. And they have, like, a really nice restaurant down there at the hotel. So we just ate there because we were not brave enough to go tour Mexico on our own, which was fine. I also had let my mom get, like, I ordered a massage for her that night. So they came to the room and did the massage. I don't like people touching me, so I didn't get one, but I thought it would be a nice little thank you for my mom for coming to another country with me and wait while I had surgery. So the next morning we get up, and at this point I'm not allowed to drink or eat, not even drink anything. And we go down, and it was like the same guys, and they remembered me. They were like, Miss Heather, you're going to Florence, right? And we were like, yeah. And they were like, okay, the van will be brought around in a minute. Have a seat. And they take you in. There's tons of seating in the lobby. And so we sit there and we wait. And while we wait, Hector came over, and he was like, oh, I hear you're with Go Light. I'm Hector. I'm the tour guide. And so we introduced ourselves, and he was like, oh, I have a tour with you guys later in the week. And I was like, yes, I'm so excited. Hector, y'all, for real, he looks like he rides a motorcycle, and he's got a leather jacket, and he just looks like, a gang member. But he is the sweetest person you're going to meet there. I've met so many sweet people, but I loved Hector. But I kind of was like, oh, good. He's rough and tough looking. He looked a little scary, but you want that because nobody's going to mess with you, especially with Hector, because everybody knows Hector and loves Hector. So if they know you're Hector's friend, they're not messing with you. And he just has that look. So that's fantastic. And so finally our van gets there and they load us up. Now, when you check out, if you get there the day before surgery, they're going to put you in the Marriott. When you leave, you're going to make sure you bring all your stuff with you because you're not going to have that same room. Because while you're in the hospital, you and your companion will stay at the hospital through surgery in the 2 to 3 days, depending on what surgery you had, before they bring you back to the Marriott, and then you'll end up being assigned a different room. So take all your stuff with you. They load it up into the van for you. So make sure you have tip money for the bellboys and the driver and everything because they're taking care of you. I tipped $5. I just had $5 I would tip. If you're wondering what you should tip. You don't have to tip, but that's what I was doing. Every time they moved my luggage, I tipped $5. I also had tons of luggage, I felt like. Because we had checked bags. We brought extra bags for souvenirs. Nobody in my family had ever really been to Mexico before this. So we were really planning on shopping. All right, so we get to the hotel. I think her name was Maria. Again, this was 9 months ago, and I'm sorry. Meets us in the lobby of Florence Hospital. Again, it's a legit hospital. There's an emergency room and everything. She gets you signed in. You make your final payment if you hadn't already paid it. A word to the wise. I have Verizon. I was told my phone would work down there. It no worky. And the type of money we're talking about, you're going to have to give your bank prior authorization before it gets approved. So if they just slide your card, your bank, if they're a good bank, is going to deny it. Now, I had already gone into my app and told my bank I would be in Tijuana, Mexico, so it wouldn't get declined or anything like that for me being in another country. But the amount of cash that you're taking off your card, your debit card, credit card, whatever, will most likely is not going to be approved unless you have called and pre-authorized it no more than 24 hours before. So while you're in San Diego, I would go ahead and call your bank and say, hey, tomorrow I'm going to be authorizing a $6,500 or a $7,000 charge, and they should put it through so you don't have any issues. So that was a problem so I had to text my husband, because text message could go through, to call our bank to approve this charge because it wasn't going to be approved. And luckily my husband was not driving at the time. He's an over-the-road truck driver. So lucky for me, my husband had the time right then and there to do it. But they're not going to, you've got to pay up front. I did not go ahead and send the money beforehand, and I wasn't comfortable bringing cash because that's a lot of cash. Because I wanted to make sure, again, reading horror stories, these girls who were going to much cheaper places that didn't have great reviews were going to these places, and they would be dirty, and like the AC would be broken and dingy, and they'd have a bad feeling, but they'd go ahead and have the surgery anyway because they'd already paid for it all up front. So I was like, I'm more willing to walk away from $500 than $7,000. I can't remember what I paid. And or 6,000, 5,500. I don't remember, y'all. I know what I spent total for my trip. I can't remember what my surgery was. So anyway, so I didn't do that. But let me tell you, again, if I had to do it all over again, knowing what I know now, I would have sent the money beforehand or well, I still wouldn't have carried cash. But I would have paid for it in advance because the hospital was very, very clean. And I felt very secure about doing this and that it wasn't a scam. So in an American hospital, when you go in for an inpatient procedure like this or outpatient procedure, whatever, you go in, you get checked in, they put the band on you, they take you up to your room, and if they have to do lab work or whatever beforehand, they're going to send the phlebotomist up to you. They're going to come and get you to take you down to x-rays. They're going to bring you back. They're going to someone else is going to come and get you and take you to get your echo done or whatever all the test was that they did. Not there. It's a little bit different. So we got paid. I signed all my paperwork. I left all of my stuff with my mother, including my glasses, which was real fun because I am blind, y'all, without my glasses. So I left all that, including my glasses and everything, with my mom. And Maria was like, okay, I'm going to go take her, get her started on her testing, and then I'm going to come back. We'll get you checked in as a visitor, and then I'll take you and all of your stuff up to the room. And so Maria took me to a room, and there were two guys there, and that was the x-ray room. And so they're like, okay, you need to take your bra off, and then just kind of stand there. And, you know, in the U.S., we're used to, like, oh, step into this room, and, you know, take your bra off and stuff like that. No, they were just like, take your bra off. You got to underwire, you got to take it off. So I look around, I'm like, and then I see this, like, little closet door, and I was like, can I go in there? And they're like, oh, yeah, yeah. You know, like, they forget that Americans will not just take their bra off in front of you. So I did that, and then they took my x-rays, and then without letting me put my bra on, we walked down the hall. Now I had my shirt on, but I'm a plus size woman. I have big breasts, and I don't even sleep without, like, I have to always have a bra on. So that was like a big issue for me, was like walking down the hall. So then they take me into another room, and I think they did, I don't know, they did something, I can't remember, y'all. It's like 9 months ago. What is it called, an echo, where they do like the stickies all over you, but they put them like head to toe. I've never had that happen, head to toe. So she's like, okay, you got to take off all your clothes and put this gown on. And I'm like, okay. And so we're just kind of standing there next to the bed, and I'm waiting for her to leave. And then she was like, no, I help you. And I'm like, I'm 31. I'm a grown woman. I can do this myself. I know how to undress myself. She's like, no, I help you. And so I was like, okay, well, at least she's a girl, whatever. So I start taking my clothes off, and then she like helps put the cover on me, the robe on me, and then starts putting the stickies all over me, including on my foot, which was weird. I'd never had that done before. And then she does the test, and then she helps me put my clothes back on. And then she waits a few minutes, and I don't have she's like, oh, don't put your shoes back on, you're fine. And so I'm like holding my shoes, and they finally give me a bag for like some of my stuff. Cause I had like, they told me not to put my bra back on, and I was like wearing an undershirt, and she said, don't put that on. And so she gives me a bag for all my stuff, and then somebody comes and gets me and takes me up to my room, where my mom is already at. And so in that room, so the floor you're on is just pretty much bariatric patients. They're not all Dr. Z's patients, but they're all most of them are bariatric patients. There was one patient who wasn't a bariatric patient. it was an Amish family, and they had come to get some treatment. I think it was cancer. I'm not really sure, but unfortunately the family member did not make it, and they knew it. Like, they had the whole family come down, and the only reason we knew they were even there, I don't think I would have known they were there at all, but they were singing because they knew this person was passing away, and it was very, very sad and spiritual. But the amount of love that the Florence hospital staff was giving this family was absolutely amazing. By no means did this person die because they went to Mexico or anything like that. I think it was just one of those illnesses that it is what it is, and you're going to die. So, but everybody else was a bariatric patient between Dr. Z and 2 other doctors. And there's an old wing and a new wing, just meaning one's been updated. They're trying to update the other one, but they're so busy they haven't been able to. So I get to my room, and they have like a day bed for my mom and a regular hospital bed for me, and then like a reclining hospital chair. That was like really nice. A TV, and then the bathroom's super nice. It's big. It's got the seat in it so you can sit and take showers, and you have your own private bathroom, which is fantastic. So then you meet some more of the Go Light staff who are amazing. They love what they do. They just talk you through it. They're like, if you have any problems, you just let us know. So all of the Go Light staff speak better English than most Americans do. And now, not all of Florence Hospital speaks English, but that's why you have your Go Light staff. And you're going to see the difference when you're there between the Go Light staff and the other doctors, the other medical tourism, because Go Light is there 24 hours a day. The others either didn't have translators, or they would just come and stop by like once or twice a day. But no, Go Light staff, during like the day, there's 2 of them there, and then at night there's 1. So during meal times, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, there's 2 staff members. One will take the companions out to eat, and the other one will stay with the patients. So you always have a translator with you, and it's great. And they're just such nice people, and they will help you out in any way they can. So they come in, they talk to us. They tell us how things are going to, how it's going to happen. And, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you, while you're checking in the lobby of the hospital, there's a little corner that is where the phlebotomist will come and get your blood from. Like, you're in the lobby, and they'll come and get your blood right away. So, you will meet, so once you're in your room, you meet the Go Light staff. They help you get settled. The only thing Florence Hospital needs to work on is the IV input. They like to use your hands, which I don't like. I don't like my hands. I'm used to getting it in the crook of my arm. But the doctors don't like that, and they like a bigger needle. And so you're dehydrated, you're getting it in your hand, and you're getting a bigger needle than what most U.S. citizens are used to. And then they don't have the best sticks. But they are working on it constantly. So one girl, she stuck me, it didn't go. She had to go get her superior. He got 1 stick, it didn't work. He had to go get his superior. So the 3rd stick is what worked. They didn't blow any of my veins out or anything like that. It is painful because it's in your hand, and they're not messing around. So, but they're working on it. There's always room for improvement. That's the only thing I could really find that needed work. The cleaning of the hospital is impeccable. So, so they come in, they put the compression socks on me. Actually, they take them out of the bag, the wrapper that they come in. They put the wrapper up your leg and then put the compression sock on and then pull the wrapper out. And they said it helps. And I've put compression socks on before, and I have to agree. Though it was weird, it does help. So then they come in, they put the IV in, we struggled with that. And the Go Light staff made sure that Dr. Z knew they struggled getting an IV in with me, and went ahead and said, okay, if you have any problems after surgery, we're probably just going to leak test you early so we don't have to do it again. Okay, so they have a plan if that fails, like if the hand thing fails, and I'm not going to have to be constantly stuck. Yay, woohoo. All right, that's great. That's fantastic. So then they come back in and they're like, okay, you're going to meet with the internist, you're going to meet with the anesthesiologist, and you're going to then meet with Dr. Z. And then a nurse is going to come in and they're going to give you a pill, and it's just supposed to kind of relax you so your blood pressure isn't high before surgery. And I was like, okay, how strong is this pill? Because I don't take meds. Like, I don't do pain medicine or anything like that. And they're like, most people, especially from America, come in and they pop it like a Tic Tac and nothing happens. And they're like, okay, when's that pill going to work? Where's my anxiety meds? So my blood pressure isn't up. And it's like, oh, well, you already took it and you're fine. And so they didn't believe me when I was like, y'all, I don't take pain meds and I don't do well with pain meds. And I get a lot of people say, oh, I don't do well with pain meds. And then they like, you know, have an issue and stuff. No, I'm not one of those. I really don't do pain meds or, you know, anxiety meds or anything like that. I don't do harsher medications. And so they gave it to me and I was out. I was high. I don't remember most of that period. I really don't have much memory until about 18 hours after I should have woken up from surgery. Now, they could wake me up. Like, it wasn't a problem from the anesthesia. It was the pill they gave me. They really messed me up. I warned them. They didn't believe me. So, if you normally take like a Valium or Xanax, you're probably not going to be affected by it, but I legit did not. Don't take that stuff. So, it really affected me. So, piecing together what I remember and what my mom told me and what other patients told me, this is what happens. They come in with a gurney and ask you to get from your gurney to their gurney, which when you're high and can't keep your eyes open is a struggle. Now, something else I'm going to note, and it's probably TMI for some of y'all, but when I started my diet in November, I started my period. I was on my period the whole time. Again, that's a hormonal issue, but when you start losing a lot of weight, it causes hormones, like hormones get stored in fat cells. You lose a lot of weight, it causes hormone issues. It's not uncommon for weight loss patient women to have period problems. So don't be shocked if you're on your period for 2 or 3 weeks. I actually ended up having to have another procedure in May to get my period to stop because it wasn't stopping. I was on my period from November to May. Okay. So anyway, so the day of the surgery, I'm on my period. They don't want you to put in a tampon. They want you to use a pad. So I was wearing underwear when they came to get me, and they asked about it. And I said, I'm on my period, and if y'all get blood on my underwear, I'm not going to know. I think I said that. That's what I thought. Anyway, so after a little bit of struggle to get on the gurney, because my body was not functioning, I remember saying bye to my mom. I don't remember making it to the elevator. I know we get on an elevator and they take you to another floor, to the surgery floor. And then they woke me up again and they were like, you need to scoot over. And I was like, why am I scooting over? But there is a stainless steel like half wall that's the same height as the gurney. And I think it had like little rollers on it. And they take you and they roll you over it onto a gurney in the pre-op area. So everything else in the hospital is not allowed in the pre-op area, and everything in the pre-op isn't allowed in the rest of the hospital to help contain germs. Why do American hospitals not do that? I don't know, because that is amazing. So I was in the pre-op. I remember people talking. I fell back to sleep. And then the anesthesiologist, who I had met, I did meet all the doctors, and I got my picture with Dr. Z. They woke me up again when I was in the OR because of the blinding light. And they were trying to talk to me, and I have no idea what they were saying. I was already out of it. I'm like, y'all nuts trying to talk to me. So I had the surgery. They woke me up in post-op. My mouth was really dry. That's not uncommon. I sign and I speak a little bit of German. And for some reason, if I'm like really tired or I have like a migraine and I can't, or I'm in a fibro fog and I can't really function, I will either try to speak German to you or sign. So my mouth was dry. I kept trying to sign American Sign Language to these people. Okay, most people don't know American Sign Language. I was asking for water and for my mom. I do remember that because I couldn't communicate. They figured out I was signing, but they didn't know what I was saying. So because I was somewhat coherent, they moved me back to my room. And I was finally able to get my mom to like understand I was asking for water. So I got a little bit of water, and then I was kind of in and out of it. They would try to get me to walk, but I just like, I couldn't function because of the calming medication they gave me. But honestly, it was the best thing ever, because near the end of it, I do remember waking up and like I had to pee. And they put a bedpan under me because I couldn't figure out how to stand up. And I couldn't figure out how to pee on the bedpan. Like, y'all, this was bad. So then I was like, never mind. So I went back to sleep. I think with them like still holding me up and over the bedpan. I went back to sleep. And then I woke up again and I was coughing and burping and choking and gagging. And I did wet the bed, y'all. I'm going to be honest, because I was so doped up. So then they had to like, they put me in the bathroom and let me finish. And they cleaned up. Bless their hearts. I love them. And then I was like gagging. And the only way to describe it is throwing up your burps because of the gas in your stomach. So I'm throwing up the burps. It's the worst feeling ever. You think you're going to like rip something. So I'm like holding my stomach. I'm on the toilet. They have a bucket in front of me. Not a bucket, but a trash can with plastic or whatever, in case I actually throw up, but they're not planning for me to throw up. And when I would, it would just be a burp that would come out. But as soon as it would come out, there would be so much relief. So then I was like, oh, I like this, because yes, it hurts for about 30 seconds, but then I feel better than I did before it started hurting. And so I did that like 3 or 4 times, like throwing up my burps. And then I was good. And when the meds finally wore off, not the anesthesia, when that medication they gave me beforehand finally wore off, my pain was under control. I had kind of been out of it for the worst few hours after surgery. I was out of it. And so it wasn't that bad for me. But afterwards, I was never in any pain. I was never really discomforted. I did a lot of walking. In the beginning, I would do 1 lap and come back and then take a nap, because I was still doped up. I still had that drug in my system. And then the next time I'd get up and I'd do 2 laps. And then by the time the medicine was really off, I could go and I'd walk, and the other patients and we would walk together, 3 o'clock in the morning. We're walking through the walls, for an hour. We didn't care. You just have to remember to get up and walk. The more you walk, it really is going to feel better. And I think that's why I did so well, is because as soon as I really could walk, I was up and walking. They do the ice chips, and then eventually you can have water, Gatorade, and apple juice. I actually felt like everything was really flavored strong, so I'd water everything down. It was crazy. The next day, Dr. Z came to see me. He showed me a picture of my gallbladder and the portion of the stomach he removed. And I was like, oh, that's great. Okay. And then he left. And then I was like, why did he remove part of my stomach? I had bypass, not the sleeve. I didn't realize that he was going to take a part of my stomach, even with the bypass, to remove that part of the stomach that holds the glands that contain your hunger hormone. So he came back and explained that to me and calmed me down, because I was like really worried that I was going to have another surgery so he could do the bypass on me because of the acid reflux. Like, by this time I really had embraced the bypass. So he came and explained that to me again, and all was good. It was great. They took such good care of my mom through this whole time. They took her out to eat while I was in surgery. Once I was back and stable, they took her out to eat again. The next day they took her, you know, and they would take her to like local places and like food trucks, like the good food trucks and stuff. And, yeah, it was just like a great time. So I was there for 3 days. My IV ended up, I think on, the day after my surgery, my IV started backing up. So they had to remove it. And so they did my leak test a day early. Because I'd already paid, if I was doing so well, Dr. Z's like, you could actually go ahead and go to the hospital if you want. But Irina with Go Light was like, well, it would be an extra cost because you've only paid for this many hotel stays. And I'm like, okay, well then if I've already paid for the hospital night and I'm not going to get reimbursed for that, I'm just going to stay. So I did, but that was just really great that he was that confident I was doing that well, that if I wanted to leave early, I could have. But he didn't want me to leave Tijuana. Oh no, my lunch hour is up. So real quick, stayed the 3 days, then we went 2 days back to the Marriott. Hector took us on the shopping tour on one day, and the next day we went to the beach. At the hotel, I met some other bariatric patients who had gone with another tourism group and another hospital. They had not been set up for tours or anything. They were just supposed to entertain themselves. So I hooked them up with Hector, and he also took them out, and we just had a great time. So I also did teeth whitening. I wouldn't suggest that because that was just too much, and I was already sensitive and gaggy and nauseous all the time anyway. And then they brought me back, and so life was good. All right, y'all, I gotta get back to work, but hope this helps. Bye.